I'm glad I'm not political.
I'm glad I'm not really missing much.
I mean, it's just a bunch of clowns talking back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And they gotta mute each other's mics.
I still don't know if any president in office has truly helped us and our situation.
Right.
Because if they truly wanted to help us, wouldn't we see change already?
Right. Yeah, and that we can't, I'm not going to speak on anybody out, but we as a people, we can't freaking decide on anything on what's good for us.
No.
We're too busy hating each other over whatever freaking politic belief you have, and shit just nothing gets done.
And they're having a debate, but they're going into the debate with strong dislike towards each other.
Right. It's not debating the topics. It's just debating how much I can sabotage this person's campaign.
Right. Could you imagine if they went into it all positive and peaceful and spiritual?
And like, how can we solve gas prices?
Right.
Well, I have an idea, but it may cost a few more tax dollars. Well, I have an idea, and it may not cost as much tax. Oh, well, how about we just join our ideas up and see what best splits the medium for the people?
Right.
Oh, what a great debate. We got something solved.
Yeah. You know what? I came in here with the plan, and it seems like your plan is better than mine. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop out of this race, and let's see where you drive the country.
Right. And I'll help you. If you don't mind, can I help you assist, and maybe some of my plan can help better yours?
Right.
And then we can have this common goal to do right by our people.
Right. Oh, yeah. That sounds good. Let's take this back to the House and vote on it.
How about we go after this debate and have dinner together and figure this whole thing out?
Right. There's an issue with the immigration status. There is. I've noticed that. And a lot of them.
Wait, that's what I'm here for. You can't just talk to yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, I notice there's a problem with our immigration status.
I've been looking into this, and I'm kind of concerned about it as well.
I don't think they're all a bunch of no-gooders.
No, they're really not. And I represent a lot of minorities, and they just want their voice heard of how they get over here legally and stop those that are coming over here illegally.
Okay, so do you think we need to deport them all and send them back and then vet them as they come in?
The ones that came here legally will be doctoring in, but the ones that came illegally, I don't know how we're going to spread our resources to get them out.
No, I think you're right about that. I do believe there's millions of people still waiting on the waiting list just to get in the legal way.
I'll tell you what, if those that came in here illegally violate our laws and we can catch up with them, we'll deport them back ASAP.
You got a good point there. So let's deport the ones that are here illegally because, I don't know, every other country does it and they have strong migratory laws.
Yeah.
And crime seems to be on the uptick. And I think we just defunded the police for about 4 good years. You think we messed up there?
I don't know. I think we might have shot ourselves in the foot with that one.
How can we come back from that? Can we both come to an agreement?
I think we can. Let's start with allocating resources and funds to our local police department.
Because if you want a better police department, you have to allocate more money. That way you can weed out the knuckleheads, too.
You want to go get some fried chicken?
I don't like fried chicken, but damn it, Daryl, let's go.
I'm Daryl.
I don't know why I called you Daryl. Wouldn't that be the best way for the politics to go?
That's how the United States should work, because after all, it's in the freaking name.
You would think, right?
Does anyone even know enough about the candidates that are running to say they are going to make your life better?
Yeah.
Like, truly.
And would they do it at a minimum wage cost?
Wouldn't the community...
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
answer my question.
Right.
Would you do what they're doing on the Hill at minimum wage cost?
No, I need my special interest groups, and I need to keep people confused. Damn it, this is how we do it.
What if we had no bureaucrats or lobbyists?
Right. What does it look like then? What do people truly know about anything other than what the media says?
Right.
Let's be honest. This is probably why the three of us aren't political.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know. And all we know is what hasn't been done and what is continually being not done.
Somebody else had this conversation, and they were like, well, you can always just go look up, the bylaws of what's on the bill, what's being passed, and this. Do you know how many things are on their docket that gets passed and vetoed and this and the like it's so much. It would be a full-time job to keep up with politics at that level. Hence why that's why we pay a representative to do that shit.
Right. And when you have lobbyists, and me and Meryl, we both know a lobbyist, they spend money
to push their agenda.
They have ideas that they want across. And guess what? No one gets to vote on that.
Right.
We, the sheeple, we just go, man, and that's it.
Yeah, when you have money,
we go along with it.
When you have money, aka Big Pharma, you're able to do things like that. You drive the narrative if you have the money.
Right. And I wonder how many people still think that the voting system works. If you look at it how I'm looking at it, and I'm not saying you should, but it looks like an oligarch system to me.
It's a lot of shit that's in the computers, and we don't know who has access to change and divvy out numbers.
And I don't know anyone, at first people were saying, oh, Obama's going to take our guns. We still have our guns. Oh, well, Obama's going to let a bunch of immigrants in. Well, that wasn't true. Obama was one of the only presidents that the Border Patrol Agency dubbed him the immigration exportation king. He was kicking people out of this country left and right, more than Trump ever had.
Right.
But people don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Like everyone has an idea of what's going on, but all I see are people fighting with each other over concepts that have been influenced in their mind, and it sways them and it makes them feel great.
It's the almighty dollar.
And they all want to just hate each other. Like if you ever want to win a war against the U.S., the best way to do it is to get them to fight with each other. Right. Because we are really great at fighting with ourselves.
Right. We can't compromise for shit.
No.
Risky said it the best. He says, how about they take a page out of the book of Risky? Hey, man, you're a bit better sounding than I am. I'll just be your assistant if that's good with you. That way, we both basically got a job.
Word.
That's
word.
And that's risky business.
I mean, that sounds like a great plan.
It is totally risky business.
Yeah.
Every
Makes sense to me and work for the better of everybody.
Right. Everyone's ego is at stake with this presidency race. And we're not political people, and we really don't talk about this shit because we strongly dislike it. But we are Americans, and it is imperative that, one, if you believe in the system, go vote. If you believe in what is truly going to make a change in this country, I implore you, go vote.
Right.
But I just want to say this. Really think about what's going on. Do you see anything changing no matter who takes the office?
Mm-hmm.
And be honest with yourself. Because if anything changed, or if everything changed for your way of life, what's left?
My ex-wife, we were in Wyoming at the time. And at the time, she voted for Hillary, right? During the Trump thing. And it came back, her ballot came back, and it was scratched for Trump. They literally changed her vote.
That's insane.
And so when she went back and said, this is not who I voted for, they said, oh, sure you did.
What?
Yeah. It's things like that. If
you have to fight a bunch of people who have positions that have strong ideations in which they believe.
And this is like this is not like online. This is actually go down to the ballot box and put your thing in the box.
Yeah, because we lived in
Wyoming. Where everything was do it yourself.
Yeah.
Nothing technologically advanced in that state at all.
No.
I just don't see things changing for the better of people like us. And I don't mean black. I don't mean white. I mean everyone who has a sound mind as to what their change looks like for the better. It's not going to come from this system.
And the sad part is both parties have great ideals and values, but
They don't know how to compromise.
they don't know how to get their egos out of the way.
right.
You know?
And no one wants to hear, oh, you're a Democrat? I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm Republican. You know? And everybody forgets the U.S. was built on both systems.
Right.
It's because we're in now the era of your opinion is now fact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if these people were really spiritually inclined, like they're Christians, they're Muslims, whatever, you would think their religion would make them behave to the ways of making people's lives better. But it doesn't.
It doesn't. Well, that's implying that people see, and again, just because a person has a religion, they're still corruptible and human.
Right.
There's no way you can emulate your religion to the fullest.
Right.
That's first and foremost.
Yes.
Once you give that up, then that we could talk about morals and values
Right.
on a different subject.
Yeah.
It's the same with politics.
I just know enough to know I don't have a dog in a race. I can honestly say I don't have a dog in a race because bullshit will be bullshit and it will continue to stack on our shoulders.
But and here's the most important thing. You don't need lobbyists or bureaucrats or any of that. All you really need is the people to come together. The people
Right.
to come together and dictate change. Because after all, we are the ones that can truly, ultimately force change.
Right. Could you imagine all of Auburn City? Everyone who lives in Auburn City, shit, even Waterloo. We all went to an auditorium and said, you know what? We are totally going to disconnect from the government and we are going to do this thing ourselves. How can we better our community? How can we better longevity? How can we better gun control? How can we better the school system? How can we better mental health? And let's all figure it out as a community and let's thrive. If a community can do that, then the government has no standing ground. We don't need you. We don't need your money. We don't need Federal Reserve because we've figured it out.
Right. We have our own trust.
We have our own trust.
We put into our community, and that's the cycle that we choose to do.
And we have
But here's the-
accountability.
here's
We
the
pick
thing-
up our trash.
And that's good, but here's the thing with that, and the government, and Marelyn knows this. The government will say, you can do whatever the hell you want, but by the end of the month or the year, I want my taxes.
Facts.
And you know that's fine. I mean, as long as the taxes are being used for
You have no control over that.
For the good of the country.
You can hope in one hand and shit in the other when it comes to your government. If our taxes are being, what did we figured out yesterday? $3 billion of our dollars are toward keeping the space station.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
afloat.
Yeah.
And what about the black budget? What about the budgets that you don't know about that they
Right.
don't disclose?
You're right. That's not even inspected by the Congress.
What were we watching yesterday? You had something playing, and I think it was for. Oh my God! I think it was for the COVID budget, and it literally was. I think it was Trump saying,
Oh, he
what,
was listing off a bunch of things we're spending our money on.
Yeah, and it was like literally to all these other countries but us.
Right. And you know, it's funny that Trump wants to hire Elon Musk to watch over the spending for the Fed, which isn't a bad idea. Like, we need to keep account of where everything is going.
But it's
Yeah.
still appointing somebody that's already wealthy and has money.
Right.
They're going to look out for their best interests first.
I mean, the harder I looked at first, I was like, well, I guess we got to pick the better devil. And in my mind, I was like, I guess the better devil is Trump. There's nobody really in his pocket. And, he didn't do anything different than any other president. I don't care what you tell me. Like, he may have made some changes, but it all got reverted back.
Right. And even then,
it,
when he was in office, Congress wasn't together.
Right.
There was still some upheaval.
And then they did the same to Obama. They did the same to the Clintons. They did the same to Bush. They did the same. It just, like, I don't think I'll ever have a dog in the race. I don't even know what to identify as.
Always said politics was a rich man's sport.
It is. It's a rich man's sport. We can't keep up with it. And all of the secret handshakes, there's no way to know what politics is anymore.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest reason why we stay out of it. But I would just hope that our politicians, they either find their God, source, whatever, and start thinking about the people and where this planet is going to go. And there hasn't been one president to do that.
I think that's why we always find ourselves in these tiny little towns.
Right.
Yeah.
Far away from the big
people.
And I
yeah,
always
the
say
big
this is like the
city.
last of America, you
Yeah.
know, like where people still look you in the eye, shake your hand and say they're going to do something.
Yeah.
And there's not a contract behind it.
Yeah.
It's that man's word is his bond,
Yep.
and do right onto others.
Yeah.
Pick up the trash on the roads if you see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's yours or not, Be accountable.
Yeah. Have pride in your little
Have
town.
pride in your town and your life.
Yep.
And teach people, hey, look, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to get off the nipple,
Yeah.
We're going to have to figure it out ourselves.
Well, no matter where we ever moved, we always knew our little town, our people.
Right.
Like we know everybody 3 houses that way and 3 houses that way and all the 3 houses in front of us.
Right.
Like, and that's a big, I mean, it may not sound a lot to the viewers who are seeing or hearing this, but if you walk 3 houses down, that's a lot of miles in these small little,
Right.
because
Yeah.
we're separated 5 to
by
10
acres.
acres at a
Right.
time. So that's a lot.
Right.
It covers a lot of distance in these small little these communities.
I just wish people will wake up and realize all this stuff on the media and all this presidential race stuff, they're almost for certain selling you a bag of goods to sway your emotions.
If you just take one day, or not even one day, but like every day, and go out and just pick one individual that you normally would never have a conversation with, and just go out there and say, hi, how are you? But mean that, how are you? Truly
Right.
mean that, how are you? You would be surprised at how much in common
You have.
you have with that individual that you normally would have never spoken to. And then you would start realizing, holy shit, like the media is like feeding me a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and pick somebody you like you said
Yeah,
that you would never
normally
ever
never would have a conversation
somebody that you would
with.
judge as to be beneath you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying people do that, although they do, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying come out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
And if they're willing to engage in a conversation with you, talk about things. Like,
Yeah.
how are you struggling? Like, I'm struggling. How are you doing today?
Yep.
And if they are willing to like be vulnerable and tell you, and then you say something like, I'm starting to believe that the news and all these other outlets are feeding me a bunch of bullshit.
Yep.
Because it's designed for me and you to dislike each other.
Yep.
It is.
And we don't even know why, because we've never met.
Right. And then we're believing in something we don't even know 100% about. Like what? And be honest with yourself, people. How much do you really know about politics? And be fucking honest. more than likely you only know what you see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I know plenty of people like that
Yeah.
who don't do
I'm like
research,
that.
who don't study politics.
I'm like that.
I'm like that. If I see it, I go, oh, this must be true. Or, oh, yeah, he makes me feel angry and he makes me feel like I should be a patriot. And she makes me feel like I should be looking at certain things with the taxes and the rich people and let's hold the rich accountable. And, you know, like, what do you really know about politics?
Mm-hmm.
And if you really look into it, and if you really look into what you're digesting, why are you letting people you don't know sway your emotions one way or another? Stand on your own 2 feet, have your own mind, and figure out what's best for you. Because the country is not trying to figure out what's best for you.
And I got another thing, like with immigration. Does anyone in this room, if there was an honest to God, legit illegal immigrant who came across here illegal with the family, right? Because it's so bad where they came from. Let's say they came to our doorstep, 2 kids, a husband and wife, and they are starving. And they just said, you know what? We're just starving for tonight. We don't know where we're going to go. Could you help us with something to eat? Not saying giving them money, maybe give them something to eat. Are you going to turn your back on them and say, no, because you got here illegally, get the hell off my property before I call IHS or ICE?
Right.
Or are you going to feed them for the night? Maybe give them shelter if you could.
Right.
What do? I'm curious.
Do you turn your back on humanity? And what your thought process is towards immigration, a person of color,
Set that aside.
law enforcement. What?
Set that aside. And what do you do for the night?
Right. What do you do for another human? Who are you really? Because most people, I believe, they're people of Fox Network, and some people are people of CNN Network, and they are happy with just being fed that every day, being fed the unknown, the lies, and they are happy just to go along with it. Rarely do we have people on this planet that shut out the noise and make decisions on their own and not be swayed by other words and
You mean other like congressmen or people like that?
right,
Yeah.
and funny other tactics.
Yeah.
And
I bet you those same people would feed that family if they came to the door. You have to have a cruel heart to turn your back on another, on other human beings like that.
this debate will be another debacle. It will be another battle of lies. It will be another thing that goes down in history to where we will be back in the same place 4 years from now looking at zero change for us. When do we get tired of it? Because it's never happened yet. If the Democrats were so good, why are they still not changing things that they're trying to run for? If the Republicans are so great, why haven't they changed things that they're still trying to go for? They've all had their fair share in office.
But did they really? No one had a fair shake in office because the Congress and the parties can't
get along.
Freaking agree. You can't get a fair shake if you don't want to listen to each other.
I'm telling you, I'm excited to when we're done here to go watch the replay of it because it's always fun to watch a shit show.
It is. It's comic. It's comic relief.
Especially the way we look at it. It's like it's entertainment at this point.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's an important time for Americans. I get it. And
Yeah, we're not trying to take away any of people's political beliefs.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give our opinion on the
Just seeing it in a different
light.
In a different
and you
way.
have to. There's polarities to everything.
Yeah.
And just do some critical thinking.
Yeah, and come outside of your norm and your reservations and what the media tries to portray like humanity right now and hate, and don't listen to that and just go out and say, hey, how are you? And truly mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll start questioning what the news is really telling you.
Right.
We do it all the time. And we've had wonderful conversations with people.
Yeah.
Amazing conversations. I mean, we just had an amazing conversation with, we had to get our septic pumped today. And the gentleman that came out, normally people would not have a conversation
With him. He's probably in his like 60s, maybe.
Yeah. And,
Hard worker.
yep. I mean, let's be honest. He had a uniform full of poop.
Right.
He pumps poop all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pumps your shit all day,
Yeah.
your
people.
shit. And people will not
Those
take
of you that's still on septic.
yeah.
Right.
That it won't take the time to go out there and have a conversation
Right.
with him. And we did. And he was a wonderful man.
A wonderful
Probably
man.
agree with you on a lot of shit.
Smart
pretty much
man.
everything we agreed on. There wasn't anything we agreed on. And he agreed, even with the politics, he was like, I've been here a long time. It's all a shit show.
And he was you could tell he was a brilliant man.
brilliant man.
He was smart. And when he was done, LaMonte went to go shake his hand. He's like, you don't want to shake my hand. I have shit all over my hand. He's like, that's why they make soap and hot water inside.
I was right there, and I shook his hand too. And I was like,
Shake
bring
my
that shit over
hand.
here.
Bring me your
Literally.
fucking,
Yeah.
I
Would
used to
you
have,
wash my hand?
I literally had horse piss and shit on my hands every
Yeah.
day at work.
Yeah. And-
You're not telling me anything. I know what hard work is.
Yeah, and that's bringing humanity back into the world. Like, let's stop being so disconnected with other human beings because the media tells us to.
Right.
That's how we should be. No, we shouldn't be that way.
And that's
Right.
why I like yes theory.
Yeah.
Because that's why they went to Iraq and Afghanistan. And
Right.
guess what? Those people are the same as you and I.
Yeah.
Oh, our government says we should hate you, but we don't believe that shit.
Right.
I don't even know you.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
you to hate you. How
Yeah.
could you hate somebody you have never met?
You
Yeah.
did nothing to me personally.
Yeah, right.
I forget what YouTube channel I was watching, but the dude lived in I want to
B said, I forgot what I totally forgot Unit E was on. He said, nothing wrong with wastewater.
Nothing at all.
Unit
completely-
E works in the
Yeah, I
wastewater
completely
business.
forgot. Yeah.
And that's hard work. Like, but Unit E actually cares about the environment and he loves what he's doing because
Word.
it's a way to protect ourselves.
But I'm saying there's so many people out there that would see that completely different and be like, ew,
You're just a shit worker.
Right.
I'm not touching you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
oh, I'm not talking.
Right.
Like, get out of that mentality and see that individual as a human.
Right.
Being.
Because you're no better.
Right.
You're
Right.
We're an
you're
equal.
saying you're not flawed and you're better.
Yeah.
You're better than some people, and it's not the
if I
reality.
cut off your arm and I cut off my arm, we both bleed red.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same
we're
shit.
both going to die if we don't take care of it.
Same
Right.
shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I forget what YouTube channel I was watching. And it was some time back. This dude, I believe he lived in Yemen. And he has a YouTube channel, if I could ever find it again. And he was making it a point to go around his little dwelling and talking to people saying, hey, how do you feel about the Western culture? And a lot of them said, I love the Western culture. I love what comes from the culture. I love how we can implement some ideas, but they're not perfect. But we don't know anybody from the Western culture. And we would wish that they could come here and teach us and we can learn from each other. I love where I live. I never want to leave where I live. And everyone he interviewed said the exact same thing. Not one person disliked anything from the Western culture. They would implement some of the things that they liked about it into their own lives. And they wish, and here's the other thing that he was saying, they wish they had some of the same democratic properties that the Western culture has. so they can feel like their voices are heard and they can
and get change.
and get change. And women are like not in the great place in Yemen. And
Well, in third world countries, because the great dictatorship, that's what you get.
right.
You don't get a voice.
Yeah, and he was saying like, why do you think it's so hard for you to make contact with these people on the Western Front? And he goes, they're afraid of us because their media says to be afraid of us, and our media says to be afraid of them.
And we know who
And
owns.
they're all killers, but we know that everyone is having struggles, and we know that it's just the leadership in these countries that are dividing us.
And we know who controls the media, and that's what Yes Theory does. That's what they were about.
They
They're
break
about
the narrative.
going to different countries
Right.
and talking to the people on the ground, the literal citizens, and getting the real troops. And they got no flack, or everybody was like wearing the Coca-Cola shirt or something that was westernized. You know,
Right.
It's like we all go hand in hand. But it's these barriers we put up that divide us. It's the great civilization divide.
Right.
Fictitious borders.
There's a white guy, and I have to say his race. There's a white guy, the wife and I watch. His name is Harold Balder.
I love watching that dude.
Harold approves. And he just travels the world. And I'm telling you, dude, he's much like Kurt Cass.
I know. Yeah, I like India when he goes there.
Right, but he just defeats the given narrative.
Right.
And here's this bald white guy going in places where they say
You should
they're
not go.
going to kill you.
Right.
You should not go. And he's encountered terrorists and this and that. No one is, and he'll tell you, even the terrorists, no one is looking for those type of Westerners. They realize that they are a contributing factor to their economy. But what they are looking for are the no good Westerners. You know, the ones in the uniform sometime that try to dictate and say how they should live and
Yeah.
can't mind their own business, and especially the ones in the business suits. And our troops get over there because the ones in the business suits have an issue with everything. And they don't want to send themselves, so they much rather sacrifice their warriors, which is complete bullshit. But let's call a spade, right? And he just proves all these narratives wrong. No one's never out to get you. Are there crazy people in every country? Absolutely. He shows them. You know, are there people that will want to scam you and do weird things? Absolutely. You get that wherever you go.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful. No matter, I don't care if you walk down the street here in Auburn, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Not everyone is your friend,
Right.
but not everyone is out to get
kill you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it make you a deadly afraid to leave your country and talk to someone else and experience life in a different way.
I'm so guilty of that. I'm like, for a while, I've been terrified to leave the country
Same here.
because I've been programmed to think
It's all horrible.
and like you said, there's bad places in every part of the world. But now I'm starting to realize that is not the case.
Yeah.
She tried to get me to go to Costa Rica years ago, before Costa Rica was even on a hype swing right now, right? And the only thing I kept telling her was, it's a third world country. As soon as we get out there, they can do whatever they want. They can incarcerate us. They can plant drugs on it. Excuse me. They can plant drugs on us. They can kill us. They can rape you.
This dude.
And not you.
His mind just went
And-
like crazy.
And I have zero, bro.
What
I
if
have
they-
zero facts to back any of this up.
Right.
I'm only going off what my country tells me, what my politicians tell me, what the media tell me.
Mind you, I've been to Costa Rica my whole freaking
I
life.
mean, but you are Costa Rican.
Right.
Yeah.
And she just
So
sat there
take
and
it
looked
from
at me. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just like, you don't know how wrong you are.
I'm like, it's my country. I
Right.
would know.
So
And
that's
all you got to do is really, honestly, you just got to shut up and let her do all the talking.
right.
Yeah.
But so that's the point. That's just a conversation between her and I, some small family in the middle of America.
Right.
Now imagine the whole country with this mindset, and there's not one foreigner to say,
You're an idiot. Listen to
you
me.
guys have this wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe in this side of the country where, I don't know, cartel or you just don't know where to go in our country.
Right.
but majority of us are solid
Man,
partying
you
people.
you can get more static by landing in certain parts in Chicago,
Right.
Detroit,
Than you will in Turkey
Watts.
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there, but I'm telling you, got a good chance in the States for your own people to wax that ass.
Right. Right. I think people are really, the only reason why this is happening is because there is a language barrier. Give it a year or two when AI can really take off and we all get our phones. We leave these antiquated phones and we get better phones that can instantaneously
Translate.
and
They have apps that do
Yeah,
that.
they do.
now.
Okay.
Google Translate.
Right. Or maybe an earpiece where if
No,
there's
they have apps now, even better than Google Translate.
there you go. We get an earpiece in. We hear them speaking in their language, but it's coming into us English.
Yeah.
Imagine what happens when the communication no longer has a border.
Well, which is good now, but you still gotta. So there would have to be like dark channels that we can communicate with because they'll shut down Facebook. They do that now. If some sort of uprising pops off in the country,
First thing Russia does is shut down YouTube,
shut down all internet
shut down
access.
X. That's what Brazil is doing.
Because if you can shut them up, if you can quiet their voices and no one knows that they're going through this, then you can easily shut them up.
And yet we keep voting for the same people.
But it's not us shutting it down. It's the other countries. Look at our poor Russian friend.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
We're saying those countries shut down the internet.
So it's not us voting. It's the other countries who are
Shutting
shutting
it
it
down.
down. Yeah.
Because it's going to change the narrative.
Yeah.
If the people start talking to each other, it will change the power
Yeah.
at B
Could you imagine
narrative.
could you imagine if it all started like France is notorious for uprisings. Like they do it
Right.
like annually.
Right.
Could you imagine though if there was something so big like those kind of uprisings caught like wildfire? Like
Right.
bam, it pops off in Brazil, then it goes to Morocco, then it hits parts of the US and then the UK. And then all next thing, China, Japan, all these countries, a global uprise.
Right.
What does that look like?
Right. And people were saying, and we might get slack for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. The whole Black Lives Matter thing was the perfect uprising. No, that was an uprising based on falsehoods of what happened. And if Black lives truly mattered, the African, I ain't even going to say African American, the Black American would have accountability in their areas and stop killing each other. And I'm not bringing any other race into this because it specifically was about Black Lives Matter. And if it truly mattered, those people in those poverty areas should know better. You kill more people than the police kill. And if you looked at the statistics, police kill more white men than they do black people. But the statistics didn't get out there like that. And the guy they made the martyr was a real shitbag if you looked at the whole picture. And why is it just Black Lives Matter? Here we go again with putting people in boxes and categories. Why not all lives? And why are you getting offended when I say that? Are you not for the people?
Or you just for a certain color of people?
Right. Don't we all matter? Didn't the head of Black Lives Matter buy a home in white suburbia and spend all the money?
Right.
and didn't put a dime into the agency or the organization?
Yeah, it's in the organization now dissolved or something.
Right.
Like that.
And it's these things that we think we're doing right, but we don't take the time to investigate.
And that issue, just to get out of that real quick, that issue is about self accountability.
Right.
And that's all that is. You're not holding yourself accountable, but you want to poke and blame fingers at others. It's BS. It's the same reason why Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and all these other rich people now that left the hood, that's why they don't live in the ghettos.
Right.
Because they know. That's why they moved to nice areas.
Look what happened to Nipsey Hussle.
He stayed in the hood and they killed him.
His own people took him out.
And he was doing good trying to do right by them.
Yeah. He was trying to get jobs for like that dude was a modern day Jesus.
Right. So a lot of these people that make it out of the hood and they have money and they have wealth, I'm sure they'll try to give back to the community, but they'll do that shit fucking 800 miles away.
Right. Football players, a lot of them are really good with doing that, but they choose not to put themselves in areas where they can be harmed.
Because they fought and ran their asses off to leave that area because they know it's harmful.
Right. They live that life.
Smart. Risky says, it's been said for years and years, united we stand, divided we fall.
Word.
They wouldn't even willingly stand by and allow humanity to connect that way.
Right.